Hello, all you heroes, villains, and innocent bystanders. Welcome to a new year and a new episode of Angel and Her Unicorn comic book reviews. I'm Alan the Unicorn, and this is...
I'm James.
We're here to tickle your funny bone with our amazing commentary, give you our unsolicited opinion on new books for this week. And this will be our first podcast for the year, I think. Yeah. So, hope everybody had a good New Year.
4 days in, I hope we haven't snuck in a few before.
I don't know, I may have. You never know what I do around here, honestly. Sometimes I wonder myself. But it should be, hope everybody had, yeah, about 5 days in, right? I don't know, what day are we on?
What day is it?
Is it the New Year? Hope everybody had a good New Year's and got all the presents and not the coal. And if you did get coal, hopefully you sold it for at least, $6 to $7 a BTU. Got some money out of it somehow. But otherwise, let's go ahead and start with
Superman
books.
Superman to crush it into
a
diamond.
Yeah. Well, can't you send it away now? Like, you can make your loved ones into diamonds. Why not?
Yeah.
I wonder if you could just send a coal and be like, "This is Grandma. Make it into a diamond."
This is cigarette ash. Make it a diamond.
I said diamond. I'm not paying you for your commentary. So, James, do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I think I went first last time.
I can't remember. It was an old year.
So.
It's a new year. I don't remember. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do Savage Dragon. So we're gonna do Savage Dragon number 241. So recently in Savage Dragon 241, they have the letters page, and in the letters page there is a advertisement for the Savage Fincast. And so I looked this up, and I have been a longtime fan of Savage Dragon, and these guys do a podcast, the Savage Fincast, and it's actually really interesting. I don't always agree with their book choices, but I still really like. It's really neat to listen to them and see their love for this book. It's kind of like how I feel with comic books in general. Just there's a love of a book and a love for comics in general. So
they talked about why Savage Dragon is
turned into
pornography.
So they had there's one thing that they had they have a interview with Eric. And I haven't gotten all the way through it, so I've been working my way backwards. I started with the newest one and work away. And this newest one, they have an interview with him, so I'm hoping maybe he'll explain some of that. But honestly, the impression I get with Eric Larson is Eric Larson just does whatever the hell he wants. And he just, he just goes, and to a point, there is an amazingness about that when you're, especially I'm sure when you're an artist and a writer on a book that you've been doing for 241 issues. I mean, there's got to be some kind of... You got to keep
an issue a month. That's 20 years.
I know. Isn't that crazy? That's insane. Well, like if you do an annual or if you do a double sized or there's always so many other things out there. And I think he's done other books while he's done this.
Yes.
So he's gone off and on, and it just I really, as a creator, I really think he's amazing. I don't always agree with his decisions. I don't agree with all the pornography, but I mean it's his book. It's his story. If he wants to tell it that way, then so be it. But I try to. Sometimes it's very off-putting. But anyways, to this particular book, which is he does one of the things that I really always like that I thought was kind of interesting. He brings in older characters that either have been like their not trademark. What's the word I'm looking for? Their
public domain.
Yes, they become public domain characters. So this one is Captain Tootsie, which is he was in the Tootsie Roll ads, and so I guess he actually had his comic book for a couple issues, and so they brought him in. But Again, it's not for everybody, but I think it's kind of fun, just all the interesting things that they do.
Side note, in 2037, Batman becomes public domain.
Really? That's going to be crazy.
Unless they do some more tweaking of the...
contracts?
Of the laws surrounding rights and
that would be
copyrights and all that, but
I can't imagine they would that's a well used. I'm sure they've got to have some kind of legal, especially with Disney or with Warner Brothers. There's got to be something that they'll.
Well, Disney had been one of the main people
trying to get
pushing back the expiration of copyrights, and this is like the first year in many years that anything went into public domain because they kept pushing the date back.
That'll be interesting. Everybody can have access
you
to Batman.
You can just write your own
Batman story.
It's not even a parody.
It could be Batman.
Yeah.
But it obviously wouldn't, I mean, if it's not coming from the company, it wouldn't be canon or anything like that.
But
the chaos will ensue.
So anyway,
yeah.
back to
the
Savage
madness. Dragon. So Savage Dragon, again, like I don't know, like I've always loved Eric Larson's art. It's so much fun. Like he does get a little crazy. And before he turned into full pornography, he did do some interesting fun things with like little shadows and interesting ways that he would show things. But at the beginning, Savage Dragon's fighting one of the girl bots that had been introduced a while back, and she is lost because her master has died, and so the Savage Dragon's Malcolm's trying to tell him, hey, your boss died, he killed himself. It's kind of you need to find a new directive, and the bot's just kind of lost. So they kind of touched that on it. So I think they'll probably bring that up again at some point. Captain Tootsie comes in and finds one of his old buddies, that used to be a kid when he was little. But they were all trapped in this little capsule, and then all of a sudden they were released, and so now they're back. All the public domain, quote-unquote, public domain characters, Golden Age. So a lot of the people that were the side characters that weren't trapped in this are older. So this is one guy of his little kids that when he was first trapped, and now he's an older man, and Captain Tootsie still looks the same. So you come to find out he's a agent of the government, the U.S. government, because Malcolm has moved to Toronto. So he is now a Canadian citizen. So the U.S. government's going back after Malcolm. Malcolm views the tape that he finds of Maxine getting murdered by the Basilisk, or the demonoid in the previous issues. And so the cop's like, do you want to watch it? And he's like, yeah, I want to see. And so he watches it. Then there's this weird exchange between Maxine and Angel. Is
Angel his girlfriend?
Angel is his sister.
Which one's his girlfriend?
The little Asian girl.
What's her name?
Maxine.
Okay. How old is she?
She
looks underage.
So she is
of consent.
She is consenting age.
Of consent?
Yes.
Okay.
They have. She was murdered, and the other issue, and then they brought her back. Which, if you haven't read it's
a comic book, people.
Yeah, it gets kind of crazy. Again, like that's one thing that Eric Larson's really good at. He does some callbacks, but I don't know. Sometimes after listening to his podcast or listening to that interview, it's like he calls back to things, but it's not on purpose sometimes. So then he's like, oh, well, I had this character that I did here, and I really didn't know who I was going to make them, and then later on I decided to make him this, and then I just have to make it fit. And so he goes, sometimes I just have to make things work. I'm like, all right, there you go. So Angel is basically telling Maxine that if you don't get over it and get back with Malcolm, get things together, that she's gonna try to take him away because she's in love with him too, and they're step siblings. They're not real blood and sister.
I was gonna say, ain't his sister was gonna take.
Well, it gets really awkward. Yeah, it is Savage Dragon. So Malcolm shows up and he tells her that he saw what happened, and Maxine's mad at him because she's like, oh, so you didn't believe me when you wanted to see for yourself. And he's like, I wanted to empathize with you. And she's like, she kind of takes it a little bit differently. And then they cut to Captain Tootsie activates this something or other. And then cuts to Maxine and Malcolm being in the mall. And all the guys are kind of oogling Maxine from her YouTube video or the video that popped up of her kind of doing stuff with strippers, and all the girls are after Malcolm, and so Maxine's really upset about this, and then they come to find out that he has to go, so he goes and helps, tries to stop Captain Tootsie. Hilarity ensues, they fight, and come to find out that he was trying to get his little rat pack people together, his little kids together that were up in space, and they finally come back, and they're like, we've been gone this long, we had no idea. And then they have a Christmas with the Savage Dragon family. And then at the end, one of the guys that was Oh gosh, here we go. So one of the kids that was immortal from another event, he took the freak out, and so he became normal. But before he did, he took some of his blood. So he offers it to Maxine that if you want to become immortal, then I save some of my blood, and that was the end of that. So yeah, we'll see if Maxine becomes immortal. And then the great thing about Savage Dragon comic books is they have all these like little funnies. Sometimes they have these really cool back issues that are kind of like, they look like old comic books, or they are older comic books that he reprints. So he always has something kind of fun and interesting in the back. It's just not just, little things. So I feel like this kind of got back to what it used to be. Like, this was kind of a Savage Dragon issue that I've always been on board with. It's kind of fun to see the different characters he brings in. And like I said, like, I love what he does with the public domain characters. He kind of uses them and turns them into something a little bit different. To kind of work in his world. And I don't know. I really wanted to be everybody to read Savage Dragon, but it's not for everybody. And I don't think especially young kids. No young kids. Please, dear God, don't ever let a young kid read his books. But I do think it's a fun book. If you are into superheroes, it is definitely a good read. It is a superhero book. His earlier stuff was a lot. I liked it a lot better. Not that his new stuff is bad. It's just that I feel like the original Dragon, he had a better handle on him, and I feel like Malcolm's kind of gotten away from him a little bit.
Is Malcolm a different?
Malcolm is Savage Dragon's son.
Okay.
So Savage Dragon's actually dead, the original.
Okay.
And so now Malcolm has taken over his mantle. And the hard part, I think, for Eric is he...
I thought he looked younger, but I didn't know if he was just drawing him younger, or if it was a new...
It's his son from him and Rapture. And the thing that... other thing that's really neat is Eric does real time. So characters age, and like kids are no longer kids. Like he was a kid probably, 20 issues ago, 30 issues ago, but he's grown up and became Malcolm. So I really like that he does that, because it's kind of adds some... You see people get older and you see where they're going to become. But I feel like sometimes that also bites him in the butt, because he can't always focus on a single adventure for a long period of time, because then he's like trying to play catch up all the time. So he'll, sometimes he'll do like a 2-issue
every month in the real world is a month in the comic book. If you do a 3 or 4 issue arc that takes a week, then you got to jump ahead 4 or 5 months.
And that's what he does. And I feel like sometimes it bites him. Sometimes it's harder to keep a book in real time. But it's also one of the interesting things that he does. It is interesting that his characters do get older.
Yeah.
Or, and he kills off his characters all the time. Like, I mean, he's not afraid to just... Hey, we got a character back. We know you like them. Bye! And it's like, I was like, oh, man. Like, you just brought her back from, like, an alternate world. You just, like, no! So, it is really interesting that he does kind of do fun things. So, in my opinion, I like the Savage Dragon, so I give it a 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. Can definitely see where this would not be everybody's cup of tea. And you probably won't appreciate it as the guys from the Savage Dragon cast, or as myself. And also, I like it because it is an artist kind of grab bag. A lot of times, a lot of his issues, he does like different art, and he does like, he'll bring in the, like Captain Tootsie looks like almost like an Archie kind of character, or a Little Orphan Annie, like that kind of style. And so I think he does fun things. So I can see definitely where it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's still fun. I enjoy it. So yeah. And also, if you ever get a chance, if you Savage Fin cast, it's kind of a fun if you are a fan of them, or if you are a fan of Savage Dragon, listen to their podcast. It's kind of interesting to see their love for the book. It's kind of neat. It's kind of fun. So. All right. Do your worst.
So my first book is Champions, which just got relaunched.
I know. I feel like it's been launched like 3 times, hasn't it?
Well, and it got canceled. And then it had an annual. And then it got relaunched. The annual came out between the cancellation and the relaunch. So a book that wasn't currently being published had an annual. It's kind of strange.
It is kind of strange.
It's by Jim Zub and Stephen Cummings. This one is kind of the breakout. Here's what we're going to cover in this.
Setting everything up. Yeah.
It's very busy. There's a cast of 20s. And
they're all the younger.
Every younger hero that I did not read the last Champion, so I was a little. I know who a lot of these people are, but not all of them. I don't know who Snowguard is.
She was introduced in Champions.
Is she related to Snowbird from Alpha Flight?
Not
because I saw she could change into animals,
and she has been like she was gifted by the spirit of I want to say the Arctic, where they kind of the Inuit tribe. So
and there's Sam Alexander, who was Nova, and he isn't Nova, and he seems a little bitter about that.
He's very upset.
Braun, who's Amadeus Cho, who was Hulk, and now he's just...
Which, that happened somewhere else. Like, that happened in another book where he went from Hulk to...
Full-on Hulk to
Braun. So now he's just kind of strong.
And then Nadia Van Dyne, the daughter of...
Hank Pym.
Yeah. So, anyway. I liked it. It was... So they've got this new team. Ms. Marvel, Camilla Khan, is in charge of the new team. She's super confident, but also I'm in charge of this team, and feels the weight of the world upon her, and it's like everybody's watching me.
Very scrutinized,
yeah. So, in the initial one, they split into 3 teams and take on 3 issues all at the same time. They rescue some kids from sex traffickers. And then there's a building collapse that they rescue people from. And then, what was the last thing I forget exactly what they were assaulting.
The blast. I think it goes the other way.
The energy monster Zax was hitting a power plant.
And so they were stopping them. Yeah.
So they were going to stop that, and they jump out of the plane, and then there's this panel that insinuates that stuff happened.
Yes.
And I don't know if stuff happened on this mission, if stuff's gonna happen in the future, if it's, and this is where it all went wrong, in your Morgan Freeman voice, or what, and then it jumps back to
kind of current time. Like, it's like almost like I felt like it was like a future vision, but then everybody was fine.
Because there's this apocalyptic looking page where they're all hurt, and then they're like, okay, well, that went well.
Yeah, we got him. We'll put him in prison now.
So that confused me a little bit. I'm hoping we'll see where we're going with that. Then the teams get back together. There's some awkwardness with teen angst. Something's wrong with Miles Morales. And
you kind of find out a little bit after.
And Sam Alexander, formerly Nova, wants to talk to him, and Amadeus.
All I can think of is like Prince, the artist formerly known as Nova.
Amadeus gets like way too rough with him, trying to talk him down. Then there's this thing with Viv, the Vision's daughter. I guess she tried to kiss Riri Williams.
They did.
And Riri's like, well, that's not okay. And Viv is being very computational about it. She's like, I did it. You said don't do it. So in my
anymore.
mind, it never happened. Yeah. And Riri's not that.
Yeah, no, she
okay
doesn't let it go.
And Viv kind of won't let it go, but in a more computery way. Yeah. And then Camilla, since Miles is off having his drama, she starts to feel undermined. And Miles shuts her out. And then on the last page, Mephisto appears. So Miles has made a deal with the devil.
Which, here's my theory. I don't know if it's true.
I don't know if this had already happened in another book or if this is the first we're seeing.
This is the first we're seeing of it. But I think this is in connection to the aftermath.
The apocalyptic page.
So I think something went wrong. Miles made a deal with the devil to kind of fix everything, and then everything's fine. So now he has to live with this.
He has to pay the piper.
Yeah.
So maybe they all died fighting the energy monster.
Possibly.
And Miles sold his soul to make them not die.
Possibly.
And now
he's almost, yeah.
So
a lot of this, like...
a little confusing, a little busy. It is a first book. I liked it. It was fun. I liked the art in it. There was a lot of characters, and for the most part, I could tell who everybody was 90% of the time. And that sounds like a tiny issue, but it's a much bigger issue than you would imagine. A lot of artists can't...
You can't distinguish.
You're like... Not only are you confused by plot devices, but you're like, who is that? What? Well, I thought that was his sister. Wait, no, isn't that the bad guy? Because the bad guy's got a goatee, but there's a good guy with a goatee.
But this one's got spiky hair. I think there's something.
Well, did you just draw him with spiky hair, or is this guy? Yeah. So anyway, it's I enjoyed it.
So I read the previous Champions, both volumes, and so I followed a little bit.
How much of it is?
And there's a lot of continuation.
Okay,
so
coming in fresh didn't help me.
So there is at least these two, the Falcon and the Locust, are from the previous Champions book. Bombshell and Pinpoint, I'm not for sure where they came from. Pinpoint, I think, is completely new. Bombshell, I think, was in a different book, but I may be wrong on that one too. I don't know who she is. So those two are at least newer characters. Patriot and Power Man were obviously from other books. They have been in other stuff. And so I kind of had a little bit. And some of the issues that they were having, with not Miles, but with like the kissing of Viv and them, that was from a previous issue. Nova dealing with his loss of his powers is kind of a newer or the same issue. And then Miles and Kamala are definitely having a little bit more of an issue, but it's been carrying it on. So I think it was probably a little bit different because I did have that kind of knowledge. But I'm with you. Like it's just a fun read. It's a fun book. It's a good team. I like all the different characters. I'm interested to see where they're going to go with it.
I like that. I've been kind of aware of Kamala and the champion stuff, and I like both the optimism and the, well, it's okay to be optimistic, but here's some real world too, and here's why a lot of us aren't optimistic all the time, and I like that.
Yeah, I definitely like not as weighted down as some of the other hero books, like the Avengers and stuff that have a lot of more adult quote unquote problems. I definitely feel there is a lot more optimism to the book. The only thing that I hope they don't do is all they do is focus on the relationships. And
go full CW.
Yeah.
It's just all drama all the time.
With a little bit of powers on the side.
Yeah.
Which I really do hope they need a villain or they need a team that they're against. I'm glad that they're doing, like quote unquote humanitarian things or the things that regular teams don't do. But I definitely think a part of a superhero book or a hero book, especially with this cast of characters, they need some of that stuff to kind of build on, but I'm not for sure if they're going to have that because the other books didn't quite have that.
And they're awfully busy doing this stuff.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that they don't breeze over a lot of the superhero stuff, which is kind of what I come to, I come for these books for. But
yeah,
it still was. I was with you. I really enjoyed it. What did you rate it?
I'd give it a 3.5.
Yeah, I give it a 4 out of 5, just because I love superhero stuff, and I liked most of the characters, and I've kind of followed them for a little while, so I kind of like their stories to see what they're gonna do. So
it's good that to have some new characters that have that there's a little bit of backstory. They're not all just completely new.
Yeah.
They've got some history behind them, but not an overwhelming amount of history like Captain America and Iron Man. That
I think also a lot of them don't have their own books, so you can do a lot more with that. You don't have to they're not weighted down by Miss Marvel probably won't change much because she can't. A lot of things can't change.
Back
she has
when Wolverine was in every single book,
and no repercussions on any of the other stuff that he was in.
And he'd be off world in one book, and he'd be back in time in another book, and you're like,
where does he find the time?
I'm like,
to do
I
this?
have trouble finding time to stop for dinner. How are you finding time to stop a feudal Japanese lord? Come on,
and be in outer space.
Yes.
Yeah, stopping the new alien race from taking over. I don't disagree, but that's my problem with Wolverine, anyways. So, but I still think a younger reader would be really good on that too. Like, maybe like the teens or the tweens. Like, I think that would be a really good book for them to read. So kids, it would be really interesting.
And a generation that just starting to get involved in
this is kind of
the
newer
world,
heroes,
and the social activism, and I know that's been beaten to death but that's the age when you start to see outside of yourself that, hey, there's a bigger world, and I can make it better, I can make it worse, or I can just make it a place where I live.
Yeah, I think they definitely cater to that too.
Yeah.
I don't think some of the 50-year-old white Caucasian males, blue collar. I was referring to myself. It may not be their cup of tea to jump in on, but
I liked it.
Yeah, never know.
I'm that demographic. I liked it.
All right, my next one I'm gonna do Infinity Wars. So Infinity Wars Infinity #1. I don't know how that works out.
It's not number infinite.
I don't know, but apparently it's infinitely #1. So Jerry Dugan and Mark Bagley is on Art Chores, and this is kind of after I guess all the Infinity War stuff that I didn't read any of it, so I do get a little confused on some of this. So some of this may be brought up in that more than what I know. So I know the basics of it, but I don't know exactly all the little nuances. But first, I want to say, since Stan Lee passed, I thought this was really cool. I thought they did the little memorial for him. They did the single black page, and then they did the really cool sketch. I still love this stuff. I just love it. I just love it. And also DC. Did you see DC did something too?
I heard that they did,
which I think is really cool too. Yeah. Which I think is really classy. Even though Stan was mostly a Marvel, quote unquote Marvel person, he did other stuff, and he really did influence.
A rising sea lifts all boats, and that the success of Marvel, even though they're competitors, it did buoy DC.
Right, and Stan was also a big proponent just for comics in general. He wasn't just only Marvel, only DC. He wasn't. He obviously promoted Marvel, but he was definitely just a comic book enthusiast anyways. So whether you like him or not, whether you agree with his decisions, he definitely did help foster the comic book world forward. And so I thought this was really cool that DC did this thing, and it says, with utmost respect from the distinguished competition, Excelsior, and memorandum of Stan Lee. And I thought that was really cool. I was like, keeping it classy, DC. way to do that. Well, anyways, so in the Infinity Wars, Infinity #1. Number Infinity of the Infinity. It's about the first part is this guy's in prison. I'm not for sure who this is supposed to be, but he's on death row. And then it cuts to Moondragon and Quasar, which I thought they were both dead. So I got a little confused. I'm like, I didn't know they were back. So now I'm curious how they all came back. But they fight the Darkhawks, and they pretty much decimate them, which I love. Moondragon, she's one of my secret love characters, which I think she's very underrated. I loved her when she was in Captain Marvel series. Anyways, so the Darkhawks have realized that all but one of the stones has left Earth, because Adam Warlock released them, and one of them has gone into this
prisoner.
Yeah, death row inmate, and come to find out he can freeze. I assume it's the time stone because he freezes time, but he stays in his cell, and then right before they are getting ready to kill him, he escapes, and so I'm not for sure what that's gonna lead to. And then they have a little Loki thing where Loki gets thrown out, but all of a sudden Wolverine uses it looks like Odin's rams, and Odin Wolverine comes in and says, he's gonna help them. We gotta save the universe. So he gets Loki, and he's like, we gotta go save the universe. So I was with you on Infinity Watch until
it's Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder.
Uh-huh. I assume that's who
Thor's
it's supposed to be.
Magic Goats.
Is it Thor's? Okay. I knew it was somebody's magic goat chariot on the fire. But I was fine until they brought in Wolverine. I was really upset. So this particular issue I kind of liked. It was kind of fun. Mark Bagley's art's always fun. But I definitely was confused. I didn't know all the ins and outs and stuff. I wasn't for sure what was going on. I loved the old Infinity Watch. Did you ever read that?
No. I read the Infinity
Gauntlet.
And
then the Infinity Wars.
And I started Infinity Wars and got confused and never really followed up. And I knew Infinity. I was peripherally aware of Infinity Watch was Adam Warlock gave one gem to
each person,
different
Pip,
people, and
Gamora.
they were supposed to watch over reality, and
it was really cool. I really liked it. I thought that was a fun book. So I'm curious to see if they're going to do that again. I'm feeling that's the way it's supposed to go, but I'm not for sure. I'm not for sure that it's going to have lasting repercussions in other books like I think they're wanting to try to do. I feel like the Infinity Wars was a huge thing for them, but then they did that Infinity Warp, which was really awkward and weird. And
Marvel, just as a whole, has had a real tough problem with anything being
long-lasting,
permanent or long-lasting.
Yeah.
Everything, you change anything, and then there's nothing.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I have to say about Savage Dragon is the stuff permeates his world a lot. He tries to keep it straight, and so, but I feel like that's one person. I think that's the difference between a corporate book and a quote unquote creator owned and made title. I mean, you have a lot of hands in this stuff, and so you can't. A lot of times they can't do things that are more have more repercussions throughout books or series. But I do feel like as a company you should be able to be like, hey, look, you don't have to do it right this second, but at some point you need to they're gonna have repercussions.
In
just
6
so you know.
months.
Yeah. Get it together.
The Oogie Boogs are going to invade Mongolia, and you at least need to mention that in every one of your books. You got 6 months. Make it happen.
Yeah. You can choose to make it horrible for them, or you can choose to not.
To have it be a blurb on a TV screen in the corner of panel 7.
Or if you are going to take over one of these characters, then these characters are going to have to be this way, and they are going to have to be forlorn because they have lost an arm. It's like I feel like you could do that if you had a way, but I think with the corporate world, a lot of it is money, and so it's not going to. But still, I mean, I'm kind of interested. It's piqued my interest, but I mean, just not knowing the other stuff, I feel like I would say probably a 2 out of 5 unicorn horns, just because I don't know the rest of the things. Maybe if I knew more, it'd be more impactful. But really don't care. I'm like, I read it. It was okay. But the Mark Bagley art's always awesome, and it did have Moondragon and Quasar, which I hope I want them to have a book. I'm hoping they'll be in Guardians. Please let them be in Guardians. Because Moondragon's hysterical. She's such a bitch. I love it. All right.
My second book is Sword Daughter. It's by Dark Horse. It's written by Brian Wood and drawn by Mark Chatter. Let me pull that up real quick.
So this is is it Image? I can't remember.
Dark Horse.
Dark Horse, yes. And so it's more of an independent book. Again,
yes.
With Dark Horse in them, they have a little bit more creator-owned stuff. And I have read the other issues. I have not read this new issue, though. But
it is dealing with a family, a Viking, Norwegian family. You assume somewhere around Iceland. That the family was in this island, and marauders came and killed the village, except for the dad and the daughter.
Well, I think the dad was gone, wasn't he? Like, he was supposed to be gone. It gets confusing.
Yeah. I'm gonna cover that.
Okay, go for it. Sorry. Because I was curious what you were going to say. I was like, I don't know either.
Yeah. And the dad went to sleep for 10 years. Basically, he sat a bump on a log and didn't react for 10 years after his wife got murdered. Okay. And so the daughter was kind of raised by the village, raised herself. They use an interesting plot. I don't know if it's a plot device, but whenever she speaks, they draw symbols, like a symbol. And so I don't know if I don't know what this represents.
Sometimes I feel like it depends, because sometimes it's like I think one point there was like a bird, and she's I don't know if she's like imitating a bird,
or if she's making like bird sounds, or is that
I don't know if the writer realizes that we can't hear them.
Yeah.
Like I get it. I was the same way. I was like, is she? Because most of the books she usually doesn't talk at all.
Yeah, right.
She just kind of does stuff.
Yes.
And then the father's one that kind of narrates the thing, and they do kind of bring in a little bit of her narration as a boxes, and they kind of explain some things, but for the most part it doesn't make any sense.
So in this episode, she is being trained by these female monks, I guess. They're kind of training her in the ways of the sword. And then the dad is also talking to them. They're trying to find out who the marauders were that came in, destroyed their village, killed mom, and you assume vengeance will ensue.
As it always does.
As it does.
As it should.
So they're teaching the little girl balance and quickness using their eggs that they're going to have for breakfast. She's like, if you drop them, you don't get breakfast.
And her name isn't Elizabeth?
Elizabeth.
Yeah. Which, by the way, one of our friends, Kenny, said, you should never mess with anybody that is...
Any variation of the name Elizabeth.
Yeah. Salandra, this one, who else? There's
several.
Yeah. Just so if you ever have a friend, do not cross them.
Yeah.
You'll probably end up strung up naked and burning for some reason.
Yeah.
It's a very temperamental name.
Yes. And then I'm not certain what happens. It feels like a flash forward. She seems older, and she's lost or injured an eye, and there's someone in prison that may or may not be her father, and I got really confused as to what was going on, when it was going on, where it was going on.
Is this the first one you read of this series?
No, I've read
Okay.
the others, but I'm still a little confused. But it's good. I want to keep reading them, but I just realize I'm going to be a little confused.
I'm the same way. Like, I've read, because this is issue, I think, 5, isn't it? Yeah, I've read up to issue 4, and I'm the same way. I'm like, I feel like I really want to know what's happening, but I don't know what's going on in this thing. And
and then it comes back, and is it still her? Is this other girl that looks like her with longer hair who looks older? Is this an older version of her? Is this a sister? Is this a bad guy?
Yes. You assume it's her, but even that, like, the older version, I think, talks, and the older version is obviously more adept at what she's doing, but it's just really it is very awkward.
And then somebody who looks like the monks that were training her comes into her room to kill her.
It's probably part of her training.
And
there's nothing like good training when you try to kill them in their sleep.
Yeah. And then and I'm not entirely certain what happens, but she sees the girl's feet. She goes in, and then Dad kicks in the door, and at some point
throws a knife.
The knife gets put into the assassin's stomach, and they die. I don't know who stabbed this person. I don't know if it was an accident. I don't know if it was on purpose. I don't know if the toes were a ruse, or if she got found out, or I'm not entirely certain what happened here, but and then Dad was like, "You were supposed to protect us. We don't feel very protected. It's time for us to leave." And then you're back to the guy in prison, and you're like, is that Dad? Because he calls her Elsabeth. So, I'm not really... I'm hoping it all gets sorted out, because I do really enjoy this book, and I want desperately to like it.
I'm the same way.
And it's... The parts I do understand are good, but it's just like, what was those 3 pages?
So, a couple issues ago, I'll let you finish, and then sorry.
And then there's a part where, like, she's got to leave her pet dog behind, because they tell her that it's going to be too rough, and the dog's too young, and they head off into...
the sunset.
They head off into the woods, and it's kind of a dramatic thing, and you get the sense that that's supposed to... Oh, they're heading into the
forest! Not the forest!
Not... Oh, it's that forest! If we're supposed to know it's that forest, I need a little more hint than that, and if it's not, then make it not feel like I should feel that it's that forest.
So, a couple books ago, there was one point where they go into a village and they find a marauder that has the same kind of mask as the other marauders. But that was really confusing too. And I was like, is that guy part of the group? Like, is he just a marauder that wears that mask? Like,
are these masks generally available? They're on every corner.
Yeah, you can get this mask all public. Like, is it
like a Guy Fawkes mask?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just like, what?
All the aspiring vandals.
Anybody that wants to be a marauder has that mask. And so that got kind of confusing too, because I was like, who's this guy supposed to be? But then, like, I'm like you, like, I feel like, and then there's moments of clarity where I'm like, okay, they flash forward.
I know what's going on here on this page. I got it.
She's older. She's gonna fight everybody. Got it. That I get down. And then it's like, and then next.
I got it. I lost it again. I lost it
over.
again.
Now they
no, it's gone.
I don't disagree. I feel the same way. And I think that is probably the biggest pitfall of that book. Like I
desperately want to like this book. It's very well drawn. It's engaging.
It feels fresh and new, even though I don't think the concept is very fresh and new, but it has that kind of, and I think it's actually kind of different because a lot of the pages are very bright, and usually like in this kind of like revenge scenario, a lot of the book is very dark, and there's a lot
of
it
helps
like,
that they're in
thing.
the land of the ice and snow.
Exactly. But even like some of the other stuff, they still like they'll do like those washes, like that blue wash when she's like in the prison with her dad, or the red wash, and so some of that is like, but I feel like it's almost a bright book too for. So I'm the same way. I feel the same way. I want to really like it, but it's so hard. I'm so confused. I get lost. That's probably why I haven't read the new issue, because for one, I didn't know it was out, but I don't, like, I'm getting to the point where I'm so confused I don't really care anymore. There's other stuff that I can read that I'm not confused about.
There are books that come out that when a new book comes out, I reread every other book that came before it to get back to where I was. The trouble is, you can only do that for so long.
Right.
It's like, I've got to read 3 books to read this book. I got to read 4 books to read this book.
All right, now
I have to read
like
170. I have to read 240 books every time
to get back up to speed.
Every time the Savage Dragon comes out, it
does get kind of bogged down. Weighty, exactly. So, all right. So what would you give it? I'd say 3.
I want to give it a 4. I will give it an actual 3.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
But I want to like it.
And the art, like you said, the art is really kind of cool. Like, it's really kind of neat, and it's got almost like not a gritty feel, but it does kind of feel like grainy and unfinished, like very sketchy. But it's very, like, a lot of this, there's like a lot of detail to it. I really like,
Like the thought balloons are, instead of one smoothly drawn circle, it'll be a curve and another curve, and they may not necessarily match up, and it's a circle, but it's not a perfect circle, and it just feels that's the way that this book should be. Yeah,
they have a really good handle on, like, I think the art is really good. So, all right, so last book I'm going to do is going to be Silencer. Jack Herbert and Dan Abnett. But I think there's actually, is this the one that has 2 writers? Which I think of that. Yeah, Jack Herbert and Dan Abnett are the writers, and then Tom Derenick is the breakdowns, with Mike Spicer does the colors. So I'm assuming there's a lot of finishing help in this book. So I've been kind of down on Silencer the past couple issues. I feel like it's finally starting to get back to where I really liked it. This particular issue, it's got her husband trying to still find her because they think she's dead, because they thought she died in the amusement park thing. And Talia's finding back. Talia al Ghul's back, and she makes everybody kind of bow to her. And Silencer's like, not me. I ain't bowing. I'm like, you get it, girl, but you gonna die. So then they beat her up, and
respect, but not bad career move.
Exactly. It's like you go, girl, but I'm gonna be back here. You stupid. So they she starts fighting all the assassins because all the Italians like die, and she offers her they fight. Eventually she offers her a choice. She has a agent that has her husband and son, and she's like, you have a choice. You can work with me, and we can make this, go, and or I can kill your family. So she agrees to, do Talia's bidding, and she's like, yes, please don't kill them. So they, she calls off her agent, and then she stabs her in the arm, or the chest, actually. And she's like, nobody approves me. And she kicks her out of a window. I'm in it to win it. I'm like, I'm down. This is good. This is like, but this should have been like a couple issues ago. Like, I feel like they finally have gotten back to what they were.
This is what, 12th issue? So
yeah.
It's been a year.
Right.
Get it together.
Exactly. And I wish they would bring back, who was doing the art originally? John Romano Jr. I wish they would bring him back. I really liked his art. I think it fit the book kind of fun.
I'm not a fan of his.
I love his stuff.
I love all his stuff. Looks like
boxy and like this like scribbles. I love it. I love it. It's so fun.
I don't like it. That's okay.
I'm sorry you're broken. But
that's your opinion.
It is true. It's wish it was wrong. But I like it. I think I'm glad that they are getting back to what they should have gotten back to. I'm interested to see what's going to play out, because now it's like obviously they can't kill her off because she's got her own book. But I'm curious to see how she's going to, if they're going to go the route of she's going to be Talia's
reluctant,
right, and kind of try to betray her eventually, or if she's going to just give in and be the assassin and they send her on missions and that's going to be the book for a while, or if she's going to, which I hope is not the road they take, but I have a feeling that they probably will, just because I don't want them to. But I hope they don't put her as a the entire time she's still trying to betray Talia. It's like either betray her and be done with it, or not betray her and be done with it, because it's like this halfway point you've already done for 12 issues, so you need to pick, So I'm curious to see what they're gonna do. But I really like it, so I give it a 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. I enjoy it. I like the character. I'm glad. I hope they get rid of the family, because they get on my nerve. So I'm like, I hope they put them on the wayside, that they think she's dead so that she can do what she needs to do, which I think would be a more fun book.
Or she could just let them get killed and be broken, and now you don't have anything over me.
Yeah, but then that then you're doing
the broken assassin,
and it's like
it's been done.
And I think that's the other thing. Like, if they do kill them off, then she has no. Talia has no weight over her, and then she will constantly be trying to kill Talia, which is what I'm kind of trying. Okay, you've done that for 12 issues. She's tried to stop Talia, so now let's move on to something different. Not that we can't revisit this at some point, but right now, at this point in time, you need to do what you need to do, and and then come up with a game plan. Because that would be a fun little thing, is if she starts going on these missions, and then as a little bit here and there, she starts trying to find a way to stop her. But I don't want that to consume the book, because then it's just like, well, you just did that for 12 issues. Now we're going to do this again. Oh, great. Another 12 issues. So I'm hoping they kind of do a little bit different, but we'll see. So far, I really like it. So I give it a 4 out of 5 unicorns. Are you reading this one?
No.
Oh, it's the first few issues are, well, you won't like because of the art, but the first few issues are really, really good. I really liked it.
She's a character on Arrow now.
The Silencer is?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Cool. I think it's one of the... I didn't read the Dark... Did you read the Dark Metal series? See, I didn't either. But I picked up all the Dark Metal, spinoffs. I can't get into most of them. Like the Unexpected. I don't even know what that's about. I tried.
A lot of them have just seemed to stop coming out. I don't know if they've been officially canceled or...
they need to. Sideways, I tried it.
Sideways was what, DC's effort at Spider-Man?
I don't know. I tried to read it a couple times, and because I really like is it Rockford Rock? Who's the artist on that one?
Rockford.
Yeah. But I really liked his art, so I tried to read it a couple times. I just couldn't get into it. Not that it was bad. It just wasn't my. I was just like, nothing really happened, and it was just kind of. I don't know. He seems like a very generic character that I've seen 1,000 times, and so it wasn't just something that I wanted to jump into.
There's Brimstone, which I haven't seen in a while. Damage.
I didn't read those. Those looked good. The Unexpected, which I think is coming out. 2 issues, and I was
the
just
Immortal
like,
Men was like there. It made it like 3 issues, and then
that was atrocious. That was the biggest train wreck I've ever. Like, I was surprised that Jim Lee put his name on that, because that was some. I read that and I was just like, I don't even know what this is about. Like, could you find a more like it was? I feel like it was like almost racist. Like,
Silencer,
which I
Sideways, The Terrifics.
The Terrifics, I read a couple of them and they were okay.
It's still going.
Yeah, but I think the Terrifics were the one that had more.
The Terrifics were DC going
more established.
Okay,
characters.
Marvel, if you're not going to put out Fantastic Four, we're gonna.
But also the difference was with them was like they were not new characters. They were existing characters that they just kind of put together, which were kind of fun. Like I think I read like 3 issues of that, and I just it kind of fell off my radar for a little bit because I want to say it didn't come out regularly or something happened where I just ended up not picking it up that often. So, but it wasn't too bad. Characters were okay. I really liked Phantom Girl. She's probably one of my. I really liked her. She's probably one of my top DC people or characters that I really liked, but I still just didn't get into that much. But this one I really liked. Except for, like, there's a lull. So, yeah.
Okay. So my final book is Conan.
Dun, dun, dun.
So for years, Marvel had the rights to Conan, and then they went to Dark Horse, who did numerous Conan books. So now Marvel has gotten the rights back, and this is their first foray into Conan the Barbarian.
Which the cover looks legit.
I liked it. It was a good book. The first page they kind of do an homage to the old Conan. All the old Conan. They got a bunch of the art and the various story they insinuate. He's done everything. He's been everything from a thief to a slave to a king, and these are the tales. So
our Schwarzenegger sitting on the rock.
Yeah. So they start. He's born on the battlefield. And then they talk about when he was a king, and then they're like, and all these stories happen somewhere in the middle. So he starts out, he's a gladiator, paid. Anyway, street fighter. He's in a pit, and he's paid to fight other people to the death. So,
which I feel like is a good job for him.
Yeah,
that fits well.
Yep. So he's down to one other larger gentleman that he's fighting. Everybody's betting on the other guy. The hot blonde gal comes up, bets on Conan. Big shocker. Conan wins. Cuts the other guy's head off. The hot blonde gal goes to collect her winnings. The people that she won the money from is like, you're a wee lass, and we're not going to pay you, and instead we're going to take all your money, and we're going to violate you.
I'm pretty sure this is a bad idea. I didn't read it, but
when in a fantasy novel has this ever been a good idea?
Never a good idea to attack the hot blonde.
She pulls out swords and they die.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah. So,
she blonde Sonya?
Blondia?
Blondia.
So, she comes up and chats with Conan and or Conan. I don't know which is the definitive pronunciation.
I said Conan.
So,
Conan.
But she comes on to him, and they hop into bed together as one does, and she turns into an evil witch as one does.
Yeah, as most hot blondes usually
do. And poisons him, and he wakes up on a sacrificial altar, ready to be.
I had $1 for every time
I
woke up
on
a sacrificial altar. Every time there was that one party.
9 times out of 10, Jägermeister was involved.
Exactly. Usually about 12 of them.
So anyway, the witch, who formerly known as the Hot Blonde,
it's now decrepit.
She's going to summon her Dark Lord using the in her religion, the more times you escape death, the more death magic is in your blood. And who's escaped death more than Conan? So she's going to use him to summon her Dark Lord. And she's like, and I'm a fortune teller, and I've foreseen that you're going to die in here being sacrificed to bring
forth the Dark Lord.
Yeah, bring forth my Dark Lord. Well, Conan gets free. Fights her, fights all the dead people that she's sacrificed before, and kills them all. As one does.
As one Conan does.
As one does. And so he kills her, and she's like, but I'm never wrong, and I saw you dying here. How can this be? And then Conan goes on to have more battles and
escaping the pit.
Yes. And it was a pit in a circular room with a hole in the middle of the room. I thought this art piece was very interesting. The citadel was like built from the top of a cave down. And it was hanging from the ceiling, and the hole. That's just a different take on.
So instead of it being like a tower with a hole, it's actually like a tower that goes down, and the hole.
They built at the top of the hole, and
that's kind of cool.
Just interesting.
Yeah.
So then it flashes forward to after he had ascended to be the king through deeds of heroism and daring do, as one does. And on the field of battle, he runs into these 2 kids that are grabbing the dead bodies and loading them up into a cart. And he's concerned about this and thinks that this is not a good profession for young children, and
I don't know what you're talking about.
they mentioned the name of the Dark Lord, that the witch that was gonna
so they're gonna use the blood.
Yeah, and and then the witch comes back, who he thought he'd killed 20 plus years ago. And as he's fighting her, the kids stab him in the back and say,
as kids usually do.
As kids, as one does.
As one does.
And the kids are like the evil witch's kids or minions, and they're all together, and they're like, and finally her vision's going to come true because you're still going to die, bringing back the Dark Lord. So it was... I liked it. It was very Conan. It was lots of excitement and battles and twists and turns.
Who did the story?
It was by Jason Aaron, and
Mumada Sar.
Yeah, that
he's really good.
person.
He was doing X-Men Red for a while. I really
I like the art.
Oh my gosh, so good.
It was very good. I've liked a lot of Jason Aaron's writings. I know he's not a lot of people's cup of tea, but I've liked the things he's done. I liked his Star Wars run, and
Which one did he do?
He did the initial. I think he was on the Marvel Star Wars main book when it.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think it was the very beginning. But that looks really cool.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to pick up Conan now.
I was not that into Conan as a kid. Most of my friends really like it. I've been going back and reading them. I do like sword and sorcery things, but I had just never gotten into it. But this was a really good story, and I'm gonna have to go and read all these old
I know a lot of people were
things.
worried about Marvel getting it because I think Marvel or Conan is supposed to cross over into the Marvel world at some point, or they're bringing the Marvel world to Conan. I think Scarlet Witch is supposed to come into this kind of.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
And
to
I'm
see.
a little worried about that, but as just a standalone sword and sorcery Conan story, this is very good.
Yeah, it looks really good. I'm really gonna have to go pick it up and see read it myself. So, what kind of rating would you give it? Purple?
4.5. I can't give it a perfect 5, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Awesome. Yeah. So, sword and sorcery kind of person, probably an old Conan fan you really like. Cool. All right, I'm gonna finish my pull list.
Okay.
Did you read other ones?
That was all I made it through this week.
I forced James into reading at least 3 books so he can come on and do my show. Otherwise he's a year behind, a couple years behind. Any given moment.
As one does.
As one does. So I'll finish my pull list. I had a Batgirl, number 30.
I love Middleton's covers. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but
I really love everything but the hair. The hair looks just awkward. I feel like if it would have I don't know. Like it just throws me off. But I love her face and the pose is really cool. The mask is really amazing. The colors are stunning. Yeah. So this one is just the
bat bra is a little weird.
I kind of
think the way they do the bat symbol,
but it's supposed to be like a backpack. So it's got a backpack on the back, so she carries all her crap, which I think is really cool because it kind of explains where she puts all her stuff. Because it's like Batman. I mean, really, how much stuff can you fit in that little pouch? I mean, there's tiny pouches. Pulls all the stuff out of there. I'm just like, no, that wasn't in his pouch.
And plus, the 90s ruined pouches for everybody.
Oh my god.
So many pouches.
So many pouches. And large guns. Large weapons and pouches. This is a kind of a new starting a new arc on it. I kind of fell off this book. But I feel like it's starting to get to more Batgirl kind of stories again. The one criticism I have for her costume is that it doesn't cover her hair. And, like, there's a lot of parts where she confronts her father. And it's just like, you're telling me your father can't tell who you are because you got a domino mask on. Even though your hair is, like, exactly like hers. And, like, I'm like,
Hey, Alan.
Yeah. Where did James go? Who are you? Who are you?
Exactly.
Oh, James, when did you get back? Like, there was some stranger here. He looks kind of shifty, and then he was going to take my wallet. But yeah, so
I stabbed him. As one does.
As one does. As one does on a show. So yeah, it was okay. 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. Beginning of a new arc. I'm curious to see where it's going to go. Heroes in Crisis. This was one of Jenny's favorite writers, Tom King. It's just a continuation. They really need to do something. They can only explain the sanctuary thing so many times before this is issue number 4. Something needs to happen. They need to move on.
4 of how many?
9.
9? Mm-hmm. You're almost halfway done, people.
Yeah.
You
Although it just keeps... Yeah, I know Tom King will pay off eventually, but there are some... 3 out of 5 unicorn horns just because I'm ready for some more stuff to kind of happen. And these books I feel like are not coming out as fast as I want them to. But...
And Tom, we know someone who has no problem haunting you.
She will haunt you till you finish this.
Yeah.
So, and then we have Wonder Woman number 61. It is still the Willow Wilson. It's her story continuing on. This one was actually the past 2 issues I really felt were kind of awkward with their dialogue, kind of weird with the art was horrible. It just was not good. This is a different artist, and I feel like the story is maybe it feels like she's finding her footprint on this. So it's making a little more sense. Some of the dialogue feels a little bit more natural and not as awkwardly placed or worded. So I actually like this one. It was still pretty good. So I give it 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. Doesn't quite get a 4 just because, I mean, the story is okay. Like, I feel like I'm still holding on to the past 2 issues is set up for this one. But it's got Aphrodite. She's going to try to help Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman stop Ares. So, we'll see. Runaways, number 17. Love it. I love it, love it, love it. I cannot say enough about this book. It's so much fun.
You did the last issue at the last one that I was here, so...
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so this one, the Gribrums they show up, and they
Last time they were figuring out how to murder them to get out from under them.
So they were going to murder the one that's been watching them. We'll come to find out that he helps them. And so they're going to... he helps them because he's like these people are good. They're not like we thought. They're not soulless creatures. And at the end, Alex grabs the android and he's like you want an innocent soul? I'll give you an innocent soul. So I think he's going to use the robot. I can't remember his name. See it leak out. Probably leaked out my ear. But I think he's gonna try to use him for something. But I just love this book. Like, it's so good. If you're a big teen books are like, I think a teen would like it. A younger reader. If you're an older reader, probably may not be your cup of tea because it's not as superhero centric. The other thing is, I also if you're a fan of the old series, like the original old series, the beginning of that, I feel like you would like this one because it's starting to remind me of a lot of that old, the original series, kind of that writing, kind of their story, which I'm actually surprised about because they don't really have, it's not a superhero book. So, I don't know, like, I like my superhero books, but I really liked this one. So, if you get a chance, read it. I recommend it to one of my patients. I was telling her, she read I recommended Lumberjanes last time and she read it, and so this time I gave her another 6 months. I was like, read Runaways, like that's what you have to read in 6 months. She's like, okay. So but I really like the series. Uncanny X-Men number 8, it's pretty good. It's just a continuation. It's the story's really good. I really like the Legion and X-Men kind of storyline. It's been an interesting kind of X-Men story. Like, they've actually gotten back to like almost like an X-Men-y route, where X-Man has infected Legion. So I like it. So if you're an X-fan, I hope you're reading that. And then same thing with this. If you're an X-fan, is Mr. and Mrs. X number 7.
I've heard really good things about that book.
So fun. Like, it's not a typical X book, but it's kind of an enjoyable guilty pleasure. I enjoy it, and the art's pretty interesting. It's kind of whimsical and cute-ish. Like, I feel like they draw Rogue really kind of like adorable, and I mean, it's clean. I really liked it, but this one has Mojo in it, so if you're not a Mojo fan, I may not be a fan of this. Because they are kind of like, I feel like they are doing a more of the
most people either love X-Men Mojo or hate Mojo.
Exactly. And so this one I think is very, just the whole series has been really fun so far. So I hope they keep going like this, and we'll see. And at the end, it spoiler introduces Longshot comes in. So I always like Longshot. I thought he's been fun. So I'd say probably 4 out of 5.
For a while.
He hasn't been in books for a long time. He's been in books like here and there, but he hasn't been in there for a while. But now this is the second book I've caught him in. The other book was Domino. If you're not reading that series, it's really fun too. So, yeah.
Okay.
All right. So that is it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. If you like, share, comment, subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. My niece would greatly appreciate having more than 20 subscribers. I'm up to 20 now. I'm super excited. So excited. So, if you have a book that we should be reading, please leave a comment and let us know. Or if you agree or disagree with our viewpoints, let us know why, because we would love to have a different viewpoint. It's not a, what is it? Not a cheerocracy. It's a cheertatorship. Or no, it is a cheerocracy, not a cheertatorship. But yeah. So until next week, we hope your pull list is full. Bye.